All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight for the Future of Denver series powered by DU. My name is Gertie Harris, and I'm the founder of Fireside at 5. We are a community-based programming and activation collective that works with local organizations and companies to educate, inspire, and activate through in-person and virtual events. Tonight, we've got our third Fireside Chat of the series, which will focus on the future of our hospitality industry, specifically our restaurants and bars in Denver. This Fireside Chat is one of a 6-part live stream series that Fireside at 5 is putting together with the University of Denver. Our Fireside Chats are meant to be collaborative, solution-driven, and engaging. So we'd love for anyone watching at home to get involved in the discussion by commenting or asking questions through the chat feature on Facebook or YouTube. Lastly, we'd like to give a special thanks to all our panelists who are joining us tonight and the University of Denver for diving into these topics with us and furthering these important conversations. I'd like to thank Do 303, our media partner, who's helping us amplify this message, and Atimo Wine, our second beverage partner, who's been so supportive of this series and is offering 15% off all take-home Atimo retail bottles. Just be sure to use the promo code Fireside15 when ordering online or at the winery. Thank you again for tuning in tonight, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our facilitator for the evening, Brian Mccarthy, the Director of Alumni Engagement for the University of Denver. Brian, take it away.
Thank you, Gertie. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. My name is Brian Elizardi, and I'm really excited to be with you all here tonight as we continue our partnership with Fireside at 5. And we're here talking about the future of Denver with really an amazing panel, amazing group of leaders that are going to help to inform an engaging conversation tonight. As Gertie mentioned, I oversee the engagement strategy for the University of Denver, and we've got over 50,000 alumni in the metro area alone. And we've also got a tradition of producing graduates who are committed to shaping the public good. And our goal really is to power the people and the projects that are helping to make Denver a more inclusive, authentic, and vibrant place to be. So before we dive into it, I really want to help set some of the context for tonight's program and start with this notion that, 2020 has been a gut punch, not just to the city of Denver, but I feel like I can safely say humanity now. And nowhere has that been more prevalent than in our small business community, and in particular the food and beverage industry. 2020, the forces of disruption have been super strong for the restaurant industry. With COVID, we've moved from a labor shortage to high rates of unemployment. And we're currently operating under the Safer at Home Level 3 with 25% capacity, a 10 p.m. last call. Cold weather is beginning to approach, and Denver's patio program is also beginning to come to a close. We've got a proposed restaurant revitalization fund and the extension of the PPP program, but both those are currently stalled right now. And the National Restaurant Association is estimating that over 100,000 restaurants will close in the year 2020 alone. And yet, with all that, we've seen a tremendous amount of innovation and creativity across the whole industry. Efforts to keep open, to keep money coming in, to keep suppliers satisfied, to keep in touch with customers, and to keep employees happy are all revolutionizing this industry and reshaping how we think about customer-facing businesses. So tonight, we are going to dig deeper into the shift within this food and beverage industry and how we can begin to support some of the people and projects that are going to help us accelerate out of this curve. And you're going to hear from some great experts who know what they're talking about. And so with that, we have an amazing panel assembled for you tonight. And I hope that you're prepared to be inspired, because I certainly am. And what I want to do first is kind of run through some introductions and introduce you all to our amazing panelists. And then we'll dive into questions. And this is a live chat. So I want to encourage all the folks that are watching at home, and hopefully you're not still at work. Hopefully you're at home drinking a glass of wine as you kick your feet up and begin to enjoy this time and enjoy this chat. But I want to encourage everyone to post your questions and to invite you really to participate in this dialogue. And as time allows, we'll begin to put those up on the screen and invite your dialogue and invite your questions. So with that, I want to begin our introductions, and I want to start with Dr. David Corson. David is the director of the Fritz Noble School of Hospitality Management at DU. He is the former chef and owner of Zanzibar and Grill. He's got a PhD from Cornell University, and he previously taught at UNLV. So welcome, David, to our chat.
Thanks very much. I'm delighted to be here.
Nicole Matson is the founder of two award-winning Denver restaurants, Nocturne Jazz and Supper Club, and most recently Noble Riot Wine Bar. She's a graduate of our hospitality program at DU and also has her MBA from the Daniels College of Business. She's opened award-winning luxury hotels. She's created service cultures from scratch, and she's also on the faculty for DU's Fritz Noble School. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Jacqueline Bonanno is the creative director at Bonanno Concepts, and her DNA is, as a creative, can be felt all over the Bonanno restaurant family. From the menus to the decor to the design to the family that fuels the organization, each and every element receives Jacqueline's expert care and attention. She's also a former English teacher, and she's got a master's degree from CU Denver. Jacqueline, we are delighted to have you tonight.
Great to be here.
John Schlegel is a Colorado native, and he is another one of our notable HRTM grads. John is the founder of Snooze AM Eatery back in 2006. Most recently, John is opened up his new wine bar there in the ballpark neighborhood, Attimo Wine. And John and his team are bringing the Italian ethos of special moments through delicious food and wine from Italy's Piedmont region directly to Denver. So, John, thanks so much for being our beverage partner tonight, and thank you for being here.
Well, pleasure's mine. Thanks for letting me be with you guys.
Frank Bonanno is the chef and proprietor of Bonanno Concepts. It's home to some of Denver's most notable restaurants and bars, including Denver Milk Markets, including Luca, Osteria Marco, my favorite, Lou's Food Bar. He's also the graduate of the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. And he's also one of our very own Daniels College of Business graduates. Frank, we're really glad you could be here tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Next up is Taj Cook. Taj is a head chef consultant for IE Hospitality and oversees the Advocacy Kitchen at Bruto within Dairy Block. Taj is also the founder of Miss Betty's Grandson Catering Company, and he's known for injecting the roots from his Jamaican upbringing into his cuisine and teachings. Taj, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And last, but certainly not least, is Jensen Cummings, a fifth-generation chef and restaurateur. He has seen it all. He's been a dishwasher, a line cook, a bartender, a sous chef, an executive chef, general manager, owner, consultant, fermented foods production expert, and speaker and podcaster. Did I get it all, Jensen?
I can't even keep track. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here, and we'll unpack a lot of my history, I'm sure, throughout the show.
I like that. We're super excited and delighted to have everyone here on the call. And thank you all so much for being here. Just want to remind our audience again to submit your questions and to throw those in our chat. And so to get us started, Jensen, I'm gonna stay with you. You know, on your podcast, Best Served, you spend a ton of time talking with people within the hospitality industry about what they're experiencing and about how the pandemic has impacted them both personally and also professionally. You've also created the Peregrine Pillars, which are business goals for the restaurant industry of having 20% net profit and a 75% employee retention. Tell us about that initiative and help us understand some of the challenges that the industry has been facing, maybe before and also during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the opportunity to start Best Served podcast was something that happened November of last year as my commitment to have more meaningful dialogue within the humans that work in hospitality. And it's an important distinction that you'll hear me come to again and again and again. We call them unsung hospitality heroes. There are, I'll just set the tone for you a little bit to understand when I was thinking about the macro of how many people are a part of this industry and how many people are affected by this industry. It really inspired me to go out there and do something. And for me, that was to communicate, because what I recognize as a chef, 20 years in the industry, 15 in restaurants, and then 5 after I burnt out in restaurants, which is a reality for so many people. I recognize that I'm a pure communicator. I just use food and beverage and hospitality as the medium, the vessel for that communication. So I need to find ways to communicate. And so the podcast was a way to do that. On March 18th, we went live for the first time because restaurants shut down in Denver March 15th. I said, I can't just keep having long-winded conversations about cooking with grandmother, even though I think that's the most important thing we can ever talk about. People need real-time information. And we went live, and I committed to that because, and I'll give you the numbers, there were so many people that needed to be heard, that it needed to feel like somebody else was going through what they were going through. And we went live on March 18th. And we have done, today we did episode 254 since March 18th. We went 5 months without taking a single day off because it was that important to get out there and hustle and communicate and let everyone out there know that you matter. You absolutely matter, no matter how undervalued you feel. Because restaurants, to me, the quintessential, the only thing that restaurants do is create a sense of belonging. That is the pure, most fundamental thing that a restaurant can do, a sense of belonging. The food that you serve, the drinks that you put out there, the tables, the glassware, the beautiful light fixtures reclaimed from the Titanic, they don't matter. Only creating a sense of belonging on both sides of the equation, on all sides of the equation, is what matters. And when I think about the scope of this industry, I think that there's 11 million people that directly work for the hospitality industry, 5 million additional workers that are part of the whole supply chain, which I know we'll talk about tonight. We're talking about 500,000 independent business owners. We're talking about $760 billion of direct sales. We're talking about over $1 trillion, 4% of GDP from the whole top to down segment that is food, beverage, and hospitality. Massive. Depending on whose numbers you look at, number 2 or 3 economic driver, number 2 or 3 employer of people in this industry. That is what matters. That's who matters. And that's why I am so compelled to get out there and hustle and communicate for them, because so many are undervalued, underappreciated. And that's not just external forces. There's something about us. We are some of the most amazing, generous, and giving people you'll ever meet. And we're some of the most crazy, dysfunctional people you will ever meet. And we hold that contradiction with such grace. And I really wanted to spend time acknowledging that. And that's what I think we have the opportunity to do. That's what we're fighting for.
Thank you, Jensen. I love that sense of kind of the, getting to the heart of what this is all about, and how do we connect, and, how do we create those sense of belongings? And yet, that's under tremendous pressure right now, just given all the restrictions. Dr. David Corson, I want to bring you in. You're someone that's got their finger on the pulse of the industry, and and obviously you're working to train our next generation of hospitality leaders too. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you're seeing across the industry as folks and as leaders struggle to create this sense of belonging, and how you've pivoted within the Noble School to support students whose needs and whose desires may be changing during this pandemic as well too.
Well, certainly struggling is an appropriate term to be using. The number of restaurant companies that have gone Chapter 11 in the last several months is staggering, some of which have completely closed up shop. They're not just in Chapter 11. My greatest concern locally is not chain restaurants. It is the independent restaurant community that has been really a great source of pride for Denver. And I'm honored to be with the folks who are on this panel, who are actually the folks who have risked what it takes to put it out there to open a restaurant, to operate a restaurant. Having done that in the past, I completely understand what they're experiencing, although they're getting it on steroids right now in terms of challenge. This is like nothing else anybody has ever seen. I love where Jensen's coming from. When I was an operator, the reason I became an academic was I realized that the most important thing I did was create a humane workplace where people could bring their whole selves to work and earn a living wage and feel safe being there. And that made everything we did for customers possible. Service is nothing more than a relationship-based experience. And what we've seen with COVID is the complete destruction, really, of restaurateurs' ability to provide that kind of relationship-based experience. being electronic is the name of the game. And when restaurants are relying on takeout and delivery, sometimes they don't even have access directly to their customer, and so creating that relationship is really impaired, their ability to do so. What are we doing in the school? Certainly, we're trying to help our students be resilient. This is the first. The hospitality industry, specifically really the hotel industry, has always been cyclical, and as goes the hotel industry. In many urban locations, so goes the restaurant industry. So we've seen the first down cycle since the time of the Spanish flu that's driven by a health emergency, rather than an economic situation. And what we're preaching is resilience, is as you said earlier, the word pivot is pivoting, is using transferable skills wherever you can. And we're providing as much support, financial and otherwise, to our students as we possibly can. We have more scholarship money that we've spent this year than we've ever spent before, probably by 20-25%. And we're fortunate to have the resources to be able to support students in that way. There's a great fear, concern among those who are studying to become industry leaders that the industry will rebound. I am completely confident that it will. I know there is huge pent-up demand already. It's a matter of who can survive through this really dark tunnel and make it to the other side, to the place where there is rebound, because rebound will occur.
Yeah, I know many of us at home can identify with that pent-up demand. I think there's definitely a hunger for being able to enjoy all the amazing food and all the experiences that are out there. So, I know how important it is to a restaurateur to maintain connection with community. We've had our first audience question come in from Owen Locke with Locke & Co. Whiskey. And he's asking, how are you able to create community in this pandemic? And Nicole Matson, I want to pull you in, just because I know, you've done some amazing work with Noble Riot to pivot on the fly, and to think about different ways to interface directly with your customers with Noble Riot. And so talk to us about, sort of with both your concepts, how you're maintaining that connection and building that community in the pandemic.
I think community is at the core of everything that we do, and I think actually at Nocturne it seems to be a little bit more prevalent in terms of the connection with the community, because we are so connected with the musician community as well. And I know this is a hospitality forum, but I think that when we had to shut down and when we had to stop paying these musicians that were coming in every week to perform, it broke our hearts. And so we immediately jumped in and tried to assist not just our staff and our employees, but also the musicians that had played on our stage for the last year or so. So we do band meals for our musicians. We're still providing those on a weekly basis. Anyone who is a struggling musician or needs or just wants a good meal can come get a meal from us at Nocturne. We were doing that even during the shutdown. We would do it to go. And that was a great way to stay in touch with those musicians and the people that are a part of that community. Noble Riot, we stayed open. We were able to do some to-go takeout. We had a great fried chicken recipe that we had in the works right before the shutdown. And so the timing was beautiful that we could pivot right away. And who doesn't want some fried chicken on their couch when they're stuck at home for 6, 8, 12 weeks, right? So it was great to be able to see people from our neighborhood coming by, grabbing a bottle of wine, grabbing a bucket of chicken. furloughed pretty much all of the staff. So it was just us as owners that were there in those first few weeks, first month or so. And so it was just lovely to at least stay in touch with our regulars, our customers, and be able to say hi to them, even as we're just handing off buckets of chicken.
That's great. Thank you, Nicole. Fried chicken made me think about you, Frank, so I'm going to pull you in. I've been craving a Mother Clucker, and I know Lou's is open back up again, but I want to talk to you about kind of your work with your team, with your people. You employ over 500 people across your concepts, not to mention, a vast network of suppliers too. And so it's a very large family to take care of, so how has your leadership style evolved? How has your company and your organization evolved as the need to take care of that internal community continues to shift into change?
So, starting on March 15th, we were 500 people. I think by March 18th, we were 12 people. That was the reality that we were living in. You keep the marketing person and your finance team in place, and Jacqueline and I and a couple other key employees, and you try and just figure out what's going on. I think that as we're probably back to 180 people right now with what dining is, and I think it's trying to create a community for. It's a different world, right? Like the person you would have accepted as an employee January 10th is not the person you'd be accepting today, right? I think there's not opportunity, but I think there's a way to re-look at the way we were doing business as restaurants. I think it was a great opportunity for a reset to realize, prioritize efficiencies, things that were just, when business was great, you weren't really looking at it. So I think, looking at the business as a business and not taking it so personally, you're trying to figure out, how do I make this business sustainable? Forget profitable, but sustainable through this. What employees do we need to keep on payroll or to help make money so that when we come out of this, which I believe you are correct, David, that we are going to come out of this, that you have the best dream team assembled. And for Jacqueline and I and Olivia who's with us, that's what it's been about, is trying to assemble a team that will drive us, follow the values and the visions of who we are, that will help us to grow back our business. And that's really one of the things that we've been trying to do throughout this. And, we've had several hurdles when we eliminated tipping, when we reopened our restaurants. So we're a non-tipping restaurant group. That was a very shocking thing to front of the house people. And we had a lot of turnover, and we had some of our old employees that wanted to come back and work, and we're like, yeah, I'm only going to want to work Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday, and I need a bar back, and I won't carry kegs. Like, those people that were the prima donnas that were really benefiting off of all this hard work, those positions are no longer available. This is a team. This is a team now. There are no I's. This is everybody working together.
Because you all take such a risk when you're going out to dinner right now. It's got to be worth the risk. You want to see happy people that are engaged, that welcome you. It can't be someone who's too busy to make eye contact with you, or someone who requires special 15-touch cocktails. It's different. Everybody who's going out is taking a risk. We have to own that,
right?
To make it worth the risk, and then to also honor the precautions.
Yeah, and our philosophy has always been that it's not about trying to do discounts or anything like that, because if you are going out, we want to give you your full experience. I think if anything, we're going over the top. I mean, one of the things that, it's not slashing, it's not giving discounts, it's not half-price bottles of wine. It's the hospitality. It's making people feel safe when they're in your venues. It's making them feel like this was worth going out for. That's what's going to sustain us in our quest to come back from this. It's not, because I don't think very few people leave the restaurant like, that was okay, but it was a half price bottle of wine. Like, I don't know that that's the repeat customer that you're really trying to build the trust with. I think you're trying to build on the people that came in and trusted you, and trying to build your brand during this with hospitality and just over the top and making people feel warm and welcome and comfortable. Because essentially, I think Jensen even touched on this. You want to go out to forget. You want to go out to be taken care of. You want to go out to be
to stop cooking and stop cleaning for a little bit. And
I mean, that's why you go out, to escape. And if we can help with that in during this and make you feel safe and give you that great experience, we hope that you would come back when things get better. But I think this is a big reset for the industry in general. I mean, the restaurant industry will never be the same. Like, we will not be turning off DoorDash on Friday nights or Uber Eats on Friday nights in our restaurants, when that used to be a big, like, we're so busy inside, screw that, just shut it off. We don't need the business. Those days are done. So even now within restaurant dining, like, if any chef is even considering turning it off because we're full at 25%, then we probably have the wrong person running that kitchen at this point, right? So I think that's what you're finding out through all of this, is who the right people are, who you want to work with, and who's going to help us get to the other side and make us a stronger community or a stronger restaurant family for us. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
I love that.
You hit it right on the nose. Everyone loves fried chicken during a pandemic.
If I may for a second, Brian, because the people who are currently operating restaurants really can't say what I'm about to say. If for anybody who's listening, if you're ordering takeout from a restaurant, pick it up yourself, please. Because the delivery services, while they're great and they generate some revenue for restaurants, they also take a lot away. So if you can order it and pick it up, please do. We need you to do that.
Thank you, David. Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think I think about, this opportunity to almost reconnect with the crucible spirit behind, why I'm sure you all got into the business, and especially I know we have so many folks here who have been able to scale and are on second and third concepts, and the opportunity almost to hit that reset button, and kind of go back to the basics and to reaffirm, I think, some of those core values. John Schlegel, I know, you and I shared an email exchange back in March, and you talked about some of the days after the pandemic and shutting down Snooze and Optimo as being some of the darkest for you in terms of your team. And you're known as a guy that really, takes care of your team and is a great leader of people. So, talk to me about, how you've seen that shift and what are the challenges you've seen across, taking care of and recruiting talent for your concepts.
Great question. And gosh, to follow the Bonanno couple and Chef Jensen and Nicole, truly an honor. It's so hard to even describe what this business is like right now. March was easily the worst month professionally I've ever had to endure. 30 years in the business. We at Snooze were at 2,200 employees, opening up 12 restaurants. We laid off 1,600. We closed all of restaurants, including 3 that were already built. We at Optimo, which is, just wine production, 33 employees, went down to 4.5, and just was like, whoa, the world just stopped. And I have no idea what to go through next. And so the unknown of that is like an indescribable moment I've ever had about how do we really pivot. And then I think, again, the people on this panel know that you're just sort of wired to just pivot, and I keep thinking to myself, when you pivot enough, you end up doing the waltz. And I know that we're going to come out of this in spring doing this sick dance that will totally move through this other level. Like, it'll happen. And I also know that every single person on this panel probably has the hardest 4 months they're ever going to go through professionally. Like, this winter is going to kick our ass. And it will truly be a challenge to figure out, to figure out policies that Governor pulled us yesterday was like, we're not shutting down, but by the way, today, don't go out, but I'm still going to keep you open. And I appreciate him doing that. Like, give us the opportunity to make people feel safe. And again, to Bonanno's point, like, we are all about hospitality right now. Like, ultimately, Snooze is a box and Optimo is a box, and we provide a product, but inside that box is this emotional connection. It's this, again, to Chef Jensen's point, it's a place to go to feel great and to feel wonderful. And man, we are at a all-time level of exercising every detail we can to make sure you as a guest feel great about making that choice. More than ever. And I'm talking best chef in town, best server. You've weeded out everybody. You brought only the best back. And then you've implemented things that never existed 6 months ago. A health check when you walk in the door. I'm putting a temperature gun to somebody's head every time they walk in the door saying, hey, I'm really sorry, but I really actually care about you. And I want you to make sure you feel comfortable coming in here. And then I'm going all in to make sure you are, from the food, from the service, from the ambiance, from, again, the emotional connection that we as operators love. I mean, I love the business side and I love the food side, but ultimately what I am is a people pleaser. I love making people happy. And I love the conduit that food and beverage provides me to do that. And I think personally, it's hard to just have that stripped from us, and I say us because our team also has those core values, to your point, Brian, like Optimo's core values: authenticity, teamwork, trust, integrity, memorable experiences, and optimism. Optimism has got to be our North Star at this point in this career because we've never seen anything like this before. And yet we have to know that we're all getting to next spring. We all believe that we will see a different side of this. We all picked a fight with the wrong people because we know that we're partly psycho and partly like perseverant and partly like strong enough to be like, we're going to see this through and we're going to continue to take care of you. And we'll make it to the other side. But again, this panel right here has got a really large job the next 4 months. There's a lot of heavy lifting we're going to continue to entail. And you know what? Everybody on this panel is ready to do it because you're that important to us as the guests. And our jobs aren't jobs for us. We don't check in or check out. We chose these as careers. We wake up and we're the chef of, the milk market. And we go to bed and we're still the chef of the milk market. We don't just get a check out of that. And we love it. And so because of that, our business is not, financially based. It's emotionally based and it's community based. And we're here to kind of make the world better, like through one meal at a time. So through that connection, and to Owen's point of like, how do you create community? It's more important now than ever. And I'm not focused on how much quantity can I push through a restaurant? How many turns can I cover? Like one table once a night, all day long, dude, I'm taking it. And I'm happy to take it. And I will make you feel so good by the time you leave that you will know that you have a trusted source of great food and safety and camaraderie, and that we're totally emotionally connected to you, even though we don't know you, because that's kind of what we love about this business. It's the people side of it. And again, it's so hard to have that stripped from us, and I appreciate the political side of having to make sure everybody feels safe like I do. I want my family to feel safe. I want my guests to feel safe. I want my team to feel safe. And at the same time, we're all motivated by making others feel good. And so we're in this really weird, beautiful, messed up harmony of navigating all of that. And it's pretty wild to sit here and think how we manage not this winter or this year, but just this month. How do we just get through November now, which already has had changes since this morning, and then just know, okay, now December's the next one. Super blessed with beautiful weather right now, but I've priced out 16 heaters in the last 2 weeks, and they're all over the board because I will provide an experience for our guests to make them feel safe, to have an outdoor experience, because I have to survive. So, it's pushed us to certain limits and perseverance and, again, just passion. Like, it's truly a passion job. Like, you really don't go into this for the sake of ease. You go into it to feel like you're making a difference in the world. And that's not going to stop because the world was needing a pivot right now. And again, I give props to Frank. Like, we kind of needed it. There was a little bit of noise happening in our world. There was a little bit of overindulgence. There was possibly a little bit of like trying to do too much, trying to throw too much stuff at a wall to see what sticks. And when you step back from that and just think the guest is our North Star, like that always has to be what we're here for. and food and beverage and hospitality and emotional connection. And that third place, you got your home, you got your work, but in the middle of that is Ottimo or Luz or, Nocturne that makes you feel like, I'm really living. And so we have to continually elevate that and accentuate that. And then, just again, not just through the guests, but through our team, hand choosing the right people, really, really more than ever stroking them and thanking them for coming into work, because they're putting themselves a bit at risk, making sure they feel comfortable, not just talking about their schedule, but asking them how they're feeling. Mental health on a different level has never been managed more for me in my world, because nobody has ever gone through this before in their life. So if you're not checking in on your team, which again, I know all these people that are with are, but you have to be more than a different level so that they can go back and say, God, I'm now going to be completely selfless and totally give it back to this guest for this one meal at 25%. I mean, 25% is not a sustainable number for the economics of the business. So we're truly investing into the future, knowing that we're making these deep connections now so that by the time spring comes and vaccine becomes a little bit more optional and the weather becomes a little bit more probable, and that we're all seeing these roaring 20s that we read about. Or I certainly stock that reading of the roaring 20s right now. I'm thinking, 2022, 2023, it's going to be a different business, but I've got a bit of a journey to get there. So how do we do that? How do we do it with the right team? How do we do it with the right people? And how do we just make sure we're always taking care of our team first so that we can always make sure we're taking care of our guests as well?
Hey, John, don't you think it's interesting? Like when we're out there looking for patio heaters and tents and all of these things that can make our restaurants work and our places work, how some people come together and work with you. And I feel like those are the people that are going to be here on the other side for sure, other businesses, and then some take advantage of the situation. I think it's been interesting to see who's like, I've got extra patio heaters. Do you want some of mine? Or, hey, I own a fence company and I bet I can make some fencing for you. Or it's interesting. And then other people who are like, yeah, yesterday my tent was $250 and that's $40,000.
Totally. Hey, John, I got some hand sanitizer for you. I'll hook you up. And you're like, that's not hooking me up, dude. I'm not taking care of anybody right now. So, yeah, there's a bit of a noise out there. Totally, Jacqueline. And then there's unbelievable partnerships. It's almost like I coach a lot of people who leave their jobs, and I say people are attracted to your position, not necessarily to you. So watch out, because if you're the GM of a cool restaurant, you think you have all these friends, and the minute you leave that job, those people aren't your friends anymore. They were attracted to you, the power position, not the person. And that has certainly weeded out a lot of people, Jacqueline, in my world, of like, oh, you're the partner. And you're not. And I didn't know you were the partner, but now I know you are. And it's also been good to clean out some noise in my world for that, I would say. It's a great point.
Yeah, and on that subject of cleaning out, some of the noise, but also, taking care of people and investing in, the team. Jacqueline Bonanno, I want to pull you back in. You all took a bold step to introduce a new surcharge to begin tackling some of the equitable pay and the division between front and back house wages, and how that often wrecks morale and pushes good people out of the industry. So, how have people responded to your creating happy people fee, and what's been the impact with your team as you've implemented that?
So guests mostly appreciate it. Like everyone likes the opportunity to have all of that figured out for them. That's what we're finding out. Overwhelmingly, the guests love it. And they're usually really generous on top of it. That being said, it was a huge, heated discussion when we introduced it to our management team. We were able to keep Milk Market open during the shutdown because we became a grocer for a brief period. And as we started bringing our managers back in, it was just Frank and I and 3 other people rolling up our shirt sleeves every day, cleaning, selling food. It was like the smallest, tightest team. And as we started to kind of grow back, it was just clear, like some people are in it with passion and fervor, and some people aren't.
Just there to collect a paycheck.
And this was a time to build the team that we wanted, to make it so that restaurant managers don't have to take a pay cut to go into a leadership position. Our bartenders were our highest paid people by leaps and bounds. We had a couple of bartenders last year making nearly $100,000
more.
It's just unfair, and they're working 4 to 6 hour shifts. And then in the kitchen, you have somebody who's working a 14-hour shift, and people will say, well, they chose that. That's what they chose. They're doing it because they love to cook. Who likes to work twice as hard for half as much money? It's not right. It's not fair. This is an opportunity to try to even that out. I mean, it may not last. I think it's going to. I think it's going to stick. We had a huge churn. We've rehired. People are like, also when they go and see what's out there, there's not a lot out there right now. We're all lean right now. So, I'm only making $37 an hour.
So I would say with that, the hardest part of it is the messaging to your guests, because we had a lot of servers in the beginning who would be like, oh, they're putting this fee on, but you still need to tip me, right? Like, so they weren't messaging what the actual message was, that this fee goes to the dishwasher, this goes to everybody. So those people that were like trying to undermine us and confuse the guests, that's where the problems were. But I think we've gotten so far ahead of it. Like you can't really make a reservation in our restaurant without having read that we do this in 3 different places. Yeah. You're greeted at the hotel.
I did it too at Ottomo. I love it.
So, but I think that it's back to, once the messaging is right, but the most important thing is the transparency of the money. That is where we have found it's been the easiest, is when the servers can see that this is how much came in, this is where it went. I think that's something that's so new to the servers, bartenders, whatever, that once they were able to come in and see this is where the money went. I mean, people who were complaining were like, well, you need a bartender to make your drink who cannot have guests at his bar. How is he going to make money, right? Like, how does he get tipped out? You need these positions, and someone has to take that shitty table in the back corner in a restaurant when no one wants to dine inside while you're out on the patio. It's not fair. And we just knew this is something we wanted to do 3 years ago. And we are tired of our managers and our executive chefs being not the highest paid people, having great bartenders or servers who don't want to give up their position because they make more money coming in, picking up 5 shifts a week than they would in a management position. That's just not right. Those people should be afforded the opportunity to grow in this industry that I probably, if they're that good, love this industry and will excel in that industry and be the leaders of the future. So we just want to make sure we're affording them the highest paying jobs. And, if you have a problem as a manager taking a cut of what we're taking in, you're creating that experience as much as that dishwasher who washes those plates, the dishwasher that brings out that trash, the busser who clears all those tables and re-silvers you. Those are the people that make the experience. Yes, the server that greets you and says hi and has a funny anecdote for you, important. But it's the whole team. And if we can get away from that mentality of that I'm the best server in this restaurant and I bring in the most money, then we probably don't need you on our team. There's plenty of teams that want that, but we need a team. We need a team that can do all of it together and want to work together. One of the other things we knew is you need people that John, you hit it. In the next 4 months, it is going to be brutally difficult. I know we've been having this honeymoon with outdoor dining. The reality of it is you are going to need staffs that are going to say, hey, I got 4 shifts last week. I'll only take 3 shifts this week so you can have a 4th shift. That's the kind of team that you need to be building if you want to come through this. Quite honestly, it could be I only got 2 shifts last week and you had 4. Why don't we split it? But that's going to be it. And that's going to be it in the front and back of the house. If you're going to survive this as a restaurant, it's going to be trying to keep your team intact and have everybody make enough money to survive, right? I mean, so the greedy bartender who stood up in our meeting and said, last year I made $90,000. I was like, well, go find that job, because that was last year. I don't know where you've been the last 6 months, but that's not what's going on now. We don't need those people that are individuals. We need people that are all common, working for the guest and the hospitality, because you will make your money back on our system. Even more so, when we modeled it, we knew if like an Osteria Marco gets back to the same amount of sales, servers will make more money, because everybody thinks they make 20% in tips. That is just not true. You may pull in 18%, but by the time you tip out everybody, you're at 11%. So, I think it's just getting back to a real team philosophy and a real family focused philosophy of your vision and your values of what it is you want to be when you come to this.
Yeah. And then from a consumer standpoint, it's appealing to me because it closes the loop and it just simplifies that process, sort of it completes the thinking for me so that I can continue to be present, and enjoy my food, enjoy my experience, and not have to worry about that too. But also it begins to address, we know there's a tremendous amount of bias, that goes into the tipping process. And we're learning now about the psychology and the impact of this in the long term. And so it begins to really address that. So I hope that becomes kind of a long-term thing that sticks, I want to pivot, I want to bring in Chef Taj and have you kind of talk about, some of the work that you're doing, with Bruto. We talk about the pandemic really being this accelerant, and we just talked about how now we're, making some of the fundamental changes in our business and our society that really we've wanted to make now for some time. And so, the pandemic has given us some courage and, but also some foresight now to begin to implement some of these practices. You oversee Bruto, your head chef consultant for Kelly Whitaker's restaurant, and now you've pivoted into becoming an advocacy kitchen, which is new to me. So, and I'm sure to other folks that are on the line here. And so, for those that aren't familiar with what an advocacy kitchen is, can you please shed some light on how you're aiming to spark conversation through intimate meals?
Yeah, definitely. Well, so my company, Miss Betty's Cooking, had a contract out with Kelly Whitaker's brand Bruto to go in and basically change over and revitalize Bruto altogether. We decided on changing it over into the Advocacy Kitchen. Now, if you notice, I can't say that word straight. Being Jamaican, speaking patois, advocacy, you have to say it very fast. It kind of throws you off when it comes to the tongue. So now the whole idea behind that concept was I wanted to bring in chefs that didn't have the opportunity or didn't have the chance to showcase their skills, showcase where they come from. I didn't care what your resume said. It's just a matter about the message and what you're going to put on the plate. That was basically the gist of it all. It started when I did 4 ITAL dinners. Now, the definition of ITAL is what we're all talking about. ITAL is a definition of positivity. ITAL comes from the word vital. It's basically the basis of all Rastafarian cuisine. Vital comes from the word liberty, and liberty derives from the word positivity. Now, what it means is that everything that you put into your body should be positive, should make you feel positive. Immediately after you eat, you should be able to go run a mile if you want to. That's the whole gist of ITAL cuisine. So each dinner was attached to a farm. So whether it was Lost Creek Farm with Chris Starkis, former head chef of Urban Farmer, Acres Farm out here at Warren Tech, where I'm a board member on their culinary school. With Joshua Olson, you're talking Mo Better Greens. Mo Better Greens is a beautiful farm that is owned by Beverly Grant. She has 3 urban farms within the community. And Miller Farms down in Platteville. They've been around since 1949. Family ran farm, Joe and Melissa Miller, beautiful family. Now, the idea of it is that every chef that came into the kitchen was going to be paired with a local farm. And even Rebel Farm as well with Lauren and Jake, beautiful people. The whole side of it all was to basically educate the public and educate the community on the cuisine that they were about to have. The advocacy part of it was to basically bring the community together, small, intimate, private events, no more than 10 individuals at a time. And it really just showcased what the chefs could do. That's really all that it is. We had a chef came in from Gambia, Chef Modu. He owns Jacaranda, which was formerly at, I should say, Rosetta Food Hall in Boulder. We have Chef Michael DeLeon came in from El Paso. He was a previous chef over at Pujol in Mexico City. Worked with Chef Enrique Oliveira. If you've watched Chef's Table on Netflix, the revolving mole that is just amazingly delicious that you want to eat through the TV, that's where he worked. We wanted to bring in chefs, basically like myself from Kingston, Jamaica, just to showcase the message that is behind the food and behind what they're trying to do. Bringing community together was the ultimate goal, and we were successful. We wanted to show individuals what we can get from the land, how we can use the ingredients from the land, and how we can listen to the chefs that are within the community. And by supporting local farmers, you can support locally and keep that money revolving within the community. So we can make sure that these beautiful restaurants are around next year and the year after, as well as these farms. That's basically all that it was. The idea is to just bring attention to food, to the chef, and to the message. And that was able to revitalize Bruto. So now Bruto is about to open up. Chef Michael DeLeon, he's about to take over as executive chef, and they're about to have their grand reopening, this year. So that alone brought the attention that it's needed. And even though Bruto is being reopened, they're going to stay in Advocacy Kitchen. I'm going to go in time to time and do dinners. Gertie even has an event coming up as well. We are not going to be quiet. I believe that as chefs right now, just as Frank was saying earlier, I really enjoyed you and John. It was beautiful. You guys are very passionate when it comes to what you have to say. And that is all that we're trying to say, is that this business has taken a huge hit. Farms, farmers, food providers, all of the above. And by working together, we can make sure that these beautiful places are still here tomorrow and next year and the years after. That's all that it was. Community is the ultimate, for me, the ultimate goal right now. This year, we're about to feed over 2,000 people within the Denver metro area. We're even about to go up to Grand Lake and support the first responders and the fire victims who have lost their homes. So right now we're garnering donations from everyone. We already have 3 locations that we're cooking at. Last year, we fed over 515 individuals within the community. So we've always been the basis of community. And I believe that all of these watering holes that are right here in front of you are the foundation and pillars within our community. Last week, I said it. I said it where I was listening to the podcast, and this gentleman who owns a construction company that builds restaurants dug deep into our history. And the first building to ever build in any city is always a place of worship. The second place to be built is a place where you eat or drink. So if we don't make sure that these places, these individuals, these pillars within our community are still around, where are we going to go to celebrate? Where are we going to go to mourn or whatever it is? I really believe that by supporting these causes and supporting our community and staying locally really does help. Now, that may not be the ultimate, part about it, that's staying local. Sometimes you have to reach further. But the advocacy part about it is to basically bring the attention to the restaurants that has had to close their doors. I was previously the executive chef of Bijou's Little Curry Shop. We had to close our doors in February. I'm friends with Justin Bronson, who recently had to sell his place to Chef Amos. numerous places across the Denver metro area, across America, have had to close their doors. You have farmers who are dumping hundreds and thousands of pounds of potatoes in the field because they can't sell it or transport it down to the city. So, yeah, we have to make sure we support each other. And by supporting each other, we can stay strong. That is the advocacy part of it. You see why I can't say the word, guys. Being Jamaican, it's funny as hell sometimes. My wife laughs. But that is the part about it. It's really just supporting each other, man. My grandfather used to say best, one hand can't clap, one wing cannot fly. Without that, we will not take flight. And for us to see new levels and for us to see new heights and get above everything that we're going through, we have to clap together, we have to flap together so we can take flight above everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what Bruto's about. And it was a pleasure and an honor to work with Kelly. Him and I did Steamboat Food and Wine Festival last year. We did it again this year. That's where we met. And he's a beautiful man. And he reminds me a lot of these individuals in front of me. Very passionate about their community and very passionate about the individuals that work in their restaurants. As I said, Frank is he has a huge reputation around town, and he's respected. I almost became a sous chef over there like last year, one of his concepts, and it's always a beautiful thing to see this camaraderie around the community. It's beautiful to see people clapping together, and I really truly believe that we're onto something good. Everything has been shaken up, but I really believe that if we continue the path that we're on and figure out some way to pivot and continue pivoting within it, we can really get to somewhere successful that was probably better than where we were. So yeah, that is me, sir.
Thank you, Chef Taj. Thank you very much. It is a beautiful thing. And, I feel like, as we sort of round the corner with this program and kind of wrap up and toss it back to you guys to share a couple of nuggets, I feel like we need this community more than ever. I think about the unique context and the backdrop with which this particular conversation is occurring right now, this very moment. Where we are as a nation, where we are as a community, and I think back to my own experiences. I shared with someone on the call. I grew up in New Orleans, and I was raised with a wooden spoon in my mouth, and so food was always the throughput. Food was always the way that we connected, and whenever I'm feeling stressed and out of control, I need to put the phone down and look away from the news. The first thing we do is prepare a nice meal for our family and sit down with the kids and just have that sort of connective tissue that the food and dining experience can provide. So we need you. We need this community. We need the inspiration, the creativity, I think, now more than ever. So with that, Gertie, I think we're gonna round the corner. We're gonna do nuggets here and have everyone go around the room.
Yeah, I think what we should definitely do is I'd love to hear from each of you guys one thing that people who are watching at home can do to specifically support you in your business right now. So let's start with Nicole.
Thanks. First of all, I want to say thanks to everybody who was on this panel. There is so much passion on the screen right now, and I think that that's really what's going to get all of our individual restaurants through this, whether it's Frank and Jacqueline and hiring those truly passionate people that really do care hospitality more than their $90,000 a year paycheck, or John putting the passion into the way that they're providing hospitality, that Italian concept, and Chef Taj. Passion is what's going to make it work, right? Those of us who got into this industry, if anybody got into this industry to try to make a giant paycheck, you're in the wrong business. I think you've realized that in the last probably 6 months. So forget the paycheck, right? And let's focus on the mission and our values and supporting restaurants that are supporting the rest of their community. So if there's one nugget that I can put out there to all of the people who might watch this, is to pick and choose with your dollars where you're going to spend your money on hospitality. Is it going to be, the chain restaurant that is like right down low, or are you going to maybe go out and support a small business that has a mission statement, that has passion, that has passionate people, and we're all here to provide this magic hospitality experience for you. We want you to come in and have a break, have a great night out, celebrate an anniversary. It's still okay to celebrate in 2020. So that would be my word of wisdom is choose wisely where you're going to spend those special occasions if you are venturing out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being on today. Frank and Jacqueline, what is your takeaway for the evening for people watching?
Throw love just throw love and be kind. Everyone, all of us to one another in our community.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going out, throw love and be kind because we're taking the steps you are.
And mine would be that just support. I mean, I think it's supporting everybody, and it's not just the guests supporting us, it's us supporting other restaurants and helping and working together, because I think together we are stronger and we will get through this. And that's really the biggest thing for me is what can I do to help somebody else, and how can I make and learn something from somebody else right now. So for me, that's what it is. It's just trying to work together with as many good people and support. We didn't really touch on it, but there are a lot of purveyors out there that are hurting, that we need to support. Some of those little guys that we might not have used as much earlier, but we are now. So that's it.
Yeah, no, that you summed that up perfectly. John, let's
My
hear from you.
takeaway from a super micro level, I would say anybody that has a local bottle shop that they go to, ask if they carry an Optima bottle. And if they don't, tell me so that I can go sell them one, because I'd love to sell you a bottle. And from a super macro level, I am so proud to be an American. And I have to remember that it's the United States. It's not just the United States of America. We have to be united. You have to be able to be cohesive in this world. It's what makes America great. So be friendly to everybody that's around you. Absolutely.
A great message, especially with all these results coming in. So thank you. David, let's hear from you. What is your takeaway?
Sort of the take-home message here is that we have to take care of each other. And we do that in so many ways. The restaurateurs are taking care of guests and of their teams. We as a community in Denver really need to take care of each other, because the restaurant community will get to a place where it's not just surviving but thriving only as we get through the dark tunnel. And the fastest way through is to take care of each other.
Absolutely. Taj, let's hear from you.
The only nugget that I have is, one hand, it cannot clap, one wing can't fly. And without that, none of us will fly and take flight. Not one of us. So the fact of the matter is we really, I'm just repeating what everyone is saying, we really have to work together. All the work that we've done already within the community, being employers within the communities, and providing for the communities, I really feel as though right now, all of us need to come together and be a part of these communities. So to actually do so, you actually have to invest and support these strong and small businesses within these communities. It sucks to see your friends close their doors, and it sucks to close your own as well. So let's not do that. Let's make sure that we're here for tomorrow, and let's make sure that we're here next week and next year. That's it. I really believe that we can work together. I have a huge faith in mankind, and sometimes, we may lose it sometimes, but the faith is there. We're beautiful people. We are capable of so much. We just need to do it. That is it. So yeah, everyone. Also, donate for this Thanksgiving. We need to make sure that we feed our community. So please, every little bit counts. We have 2,000 individuals in Grand Lake who have suffered. Let's help them. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Jensen, let's wrap up with you.
All right, I'll give you something practical and something holistic. Everybody who works in a restaurant, has worked in a restaurant, has ever eaten in a restaurant, which is everybody. You have to go to saverestaurants.com. It takes literally 20 seconds. Pops up, you put in your address, and it tells your representatives that you care about restaurants, that you expect them to take action. They need to pass the HEROES Act, and more importantly, they're in the Restaurants Act, which is $120 billion. That money has to come in this ecosystem to make sure that restaurants survive. So when you think about the bottle shop down the street, or the Advocacy Kitchen, or the fried chicken joints, or the jazz club that's down the street, if there's 4 or 5 of them, if you do not take that little bit of effort and put some of your republic and democratic strength to work for restaurants, 3 or 4 of those restaurants will not be there in the spring. This is a reality. And so Denver, has been pretty behind this, but the state of Colorado, there's definitely some pressure that needs to be placed down in Colorado Springs. So make sure if your representatives have co-signed onto both the House and Senate version of the Restaurants Act. That money is needed into the system, right? The PPP was just a loan. It was a clever loan. It was just a loan. We absolutely have to make sure that there is a true bailout. 500,000 restaurants that I mentioned, independently owned restaurants, you take all the bailouts of banks, of car manufacturers, of airlines, of cruise liners, that one gets me, and put them together. They pale in comparison to the number of people and the economic driver that restaurant industry is. Make sure, very practical, go and do it. Go to saverestaurants.com. And I'll leave you with something quick, holistic. Again, where I began, sense of belonging. That is the fundamental thing that restaurants do on all sides of the equation, right? We find our tribe, we find our people. As crazy as we might be, you feel this connection, this innate human connection. And that's what we reproduce again and again and again. And when we forget about our people, when we stop doing, the most important word to me is acknowledgement. When we stop acknowledging each other, the guest will never have the experience, because at every part of our being, our belonging, it's broken, it's fragmented, it's distracted, it's confused, it's antagonistic. And so we need to acknowledge each other through acknowledging people, through pure human acknowledgement, through wages, benefits, culture, education, all the things that it takes for us to be whole. That's what needs to happen. That's what I hope we take away
I
from
think
tonight.
that was a great wrap up. I've got some closing thoughts. Brian, is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Just to express my gratitude for all the folks that are here on the call. I think, when we think about kind of the future of Denver, to me, ultimately, it's about this intimate society, that gets created when we all come together and we share a drink, or we share a meal, or we share a story. And I just want to express my gratitude to all the panelists here tonight for your leadership and for the inspiration that you give us all to get through these times. And just really want to encourage the community to spend some time and really just connect with these brands, and connect with your local small businesses, and connect with these restaurants, and find really innovative and creative ways to support them. They need us, and more importantly, we need them. We need you. So with that, Gertie.
Yeah, I think everyone on this panel really said it best. It's all about community. It's all about collaboration. And so I just want to thank you guys all for your contributions to this discussion. When we started Fireside at 5, we wanted to be a place for community catharsis and connection. And so, that's really what it's all about. It's really our mission to curate these kinds of conversations between stakeholders like yourselves. So we really do encourage you guys to keep in touch. And if there are other ways that we can help support, we absolutely will. That's our biggest goal with these chats, is really to inspire action from these conversations. So I hope everyone watching at home, like Brian just said, finds ways to support these incredible panelists and their businesses. I'd love to thank Brian for facilitating such a great discussion tonight, and the University of Denver for sponsoring this incredible series. Our media partner, Do 303, and our beverage partner, Atimo Wine. If you guys liked what you saw tonight, you're in luck, because we've got 3 more Fireside Chats of this series. Our next chat's going to be next Thursday, November 12th at 5 p.m. We're going to be talking about supporting our Denver hotels in the era of the timid traveler. David Corson will be joining us on that panel, along with a few other panelists. So until then, this has been Fireside at 5, and thank you guys all for being here. I'll talk to you guys soon.